Let's go inside Beaver Dam High School athletics and activities right now and bring in Ryan Gerber, the big cheese over at BDHS when it comes to athletics and activities. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Wade?
I'm doing great. It was a big weekend last weekend for Beaver Dam High School athletics. Some exciting finishes. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we've talked a little bit about realignment and especially leaning towards football. And this week we took one step closer to, Beaver Dam football for 26-27, kind of shifting around again.
Yeah. Yep. So just as a reminder for everyone, a number of years ago, the WIA decided to break football off from everything else. So that's why we have football-only conferences, and that's why we were playing in the East Central Conference this year, and we'll continue to play in that conference next year. So we'll be playing Port Washington and Kewaskum and Plymouth again next year. But in that realignment piece, the WIA said they would look at everything every 2 years. This is a kind of a controversial topic. A lot of people weren't happy with where they're placed. We've been on record saying we'll play wherever we're put. But certainly, we are a Badger Conference school in every other sport, and we'd prefer to stay in the Badger Conference. And so as proposals came through, we took a look at everything and gave our input. And it looks like, based on the proposals, nothing's set in stone, but the proposals as of December 10th have us returning to the Badger Conference in football in 2026, 2027. What's different, however, is when we come back for football, the proposal has us playing in the Badger Small. So every other sport would be in the Badger Large because the Badger Conference determines placement based on enrollment, but because football's separate, it's a WIA divisional thing, we'd be in the Badger Small. And right now that proposal has us with Edgewood, Fort Atkinson, Lakeside Lutheran, McFarland, Mount Horeb Barneveld, Sauk Prairie, and Stoughton.
Okay, I don't see Watertown on it. They're going to go back to the Badger Large, it looks like, huh?
Yeah. So that was the other piece to it. And I was under the impression that we would always follow Watertown. I mean, we're so close to each other. Enrollments are fairly similar. But kind of what's going on right now, just in terms of our community and our school enrollment, we're declining in our enrollment. So that puts us in the Badger Small and Watertown staying up. So there's a definite divide in terms of enrollment. They're going to be going to the Badger Large. So any game after this coming next year, after 2025, at least for 2 years, if we want to play Watertown, that's going to be a non-conference game. And it's certainly something that I want to do. That's certainly something that I want to keep. I believe this game between Beaver Dam and Watertown has been played for the most part over the last 100 years or so. I know there were some years here and there where that game didn't happen, but it will be a priority for me to try to come to a consensus with the Goslings and keep that game as a non-conference game in 26-27.
Hey, is there a chance? Obviously, first of all, we want to keep that rivalry with Watertown. It's kind of heat up a little bit over the last few years too, and kids are kind of understanding the juice that you have with only 20 some miles apart. So we'll wait and see what happens there. I know when they wanted last time they were splitting the Badger Large and Badger North and South, they had mandatory crossovers, so they weren't able to keep that 100-plus year rivalry going. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now with Beaver Dam's enrollment. Just projections, is there a chance where Beaver Dam could end up in the Badger Small for all sports in the next decade?
It's always a possibility. I'll leave future projections up to somebody else, but keep in mind that the Badger Conference itself, we control the conference alignment for every other sport but football. And every 2 years, we're looking at, or actually every year, we're looking at that third Friday count in taking every team in the conference, all 16 of them, and saying, okay, which 8 are the biggest, which 8 are the smallest. So it's possible. When I was in high school as a Norski at DeForest, we were much bigger than Wanakee. Wanakee was very small. Now Wanakee's the largest school in the Badger Conference. DeForest does project to eclipse them in enrollment in the next few years. So you're seeing some rises there. Milton, out of nowhere, has risen. I know they were declining for a number of years. They've gone up in enrollment. So it really depends. And you never know. I know schools like Portage have desired to maybe move on to a different conference because their enrollments dip so much. So in the next decade or so, you could see teams come in or come out of the conference. That could certainly determine things. But as far as our enrollment, we're staying steady. We're seeing declines like a lot of schools are. But compared to the other small conferences or conference schools, we're not losing like they are.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on that as it works its way through the process with the WIAA. Ryan, last week, and let's go on to the competitions now. What a 3-day stretch for Beaver Dam High School athletics. We'll start last Thursday. Milwaukee Lifelong Learning came to town. Didn't have quite the roster they had when they booked the game, but the Beavers had a 69-point victory. The boys basketball team, the largest margin of victory in program history. What an effort by Coach Laderin's team.
Yeah, it was a fun game to watch. It always helps when you're playing a team that you feel like you're better than you should beat, but the guys still come out and they perform. I believe they had 18 successful 3-point shots, which certainly helps add to that total. The biggest thing that I look at is the defensive intensity was still there. Guys weren't messing around the court. They weren't trying to hot dog anything. They stayed within their system and stayed within themselves. And I know talking to Coach, it was an opportunity to get a lot of young guys in and get some solid minutes as they prepare for conference play. So, yep, they certainly set the program record for the largest margin of victory. Yes, this wasn't the team that we thought we were scheduling last year. And that stuff happens. It's high school sports, especially now with open enrollment being what it is. We're seeing a lot of movement and a lot more volatility in terms of competitiveness from one year to the next. But our guys took care of business. They did what they're supposed to. They stayed focused, and we were able to get a lot of young guys some minutes.
Well, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, then they just took one on the chin at Fort Atkinson on Tuesday night. But that's the life of a basketball team, right? Some nights you got it, some nights other teams have it, and that happened on Tuesday night where Fort Atkinson just the veteran squad had it going, especially in the second half, and all cylinders.
Yeah, it's high school sports, right? These aren't professional athletes, and certainly we knew going into that game, we knew going into the season that Fort Atkinson was going to be a really tough opponent. They have 8 or 9 seniors on their varsity roster, so they're pretty deep. They're very experienced. They have great height and length. The one thing I'll note is they shot the lights out. So what we've done in our early games to the opponents we brought in here where we shot the lights out, hit a lot of threes. That's what Fort did to us. So, here's the thing. And what I expressed to some of the players after the game when I saw them in the hallways, you know what, this only counts as one loss. So whether you lose by 1, whether you lose by 30, whatever it is, it still only counts as one loss. And it's early in the season. We'll get a shot at Fort Atkinson again this year. That place down there has been a tough place for us to play the last couple of years. The game is always physical. It's always intense. That gym plays like a kind of like an old school small gym. So the atmosphere is always really good. So, it's a tough place to play, and they've had good teams and they have a heck of a coaching staff down there. So, we look forward to having that return trip up here and giving our coaching staff some opportunities to figure some things out and scheme some stuff up. But we've got a good team. We've got good players. And I think if we play our brand of basketball, I think that game's going to be a lot different.
And Beavers get back on the horse Saturday afternoon. Watertown coming to town for like a 2:30 start. You'll hear that one, or I guess you'll watch it on Daily Dodge TV. How about the girls basketball team? TJ Julka's squad was down 16 to Oregon, and they were able to rally back. Emma Julka had a big 3 last Friday night to put them up by 1. They added a free throw, and that was a big win for his squad early in the year last week too.
Yeah, really a tale of two halves. We just played really out of sorts in the first half. I think we had 11 turnovers in the first half, and you could tell we had quite a bit of a layoff between the Beaver Dam Classic and getting into this game, and certainly opening up conference play with Oregon is no small feat. Oregon hadn't lost a regular season game in over a year, so to bring them in and to be a little rusty, and you could tell we needed some extra reps. So getting into halftime down 16, that's bleak, man. That doesn't happen very often to hear, and it doesn't bode well for most teams when you're down 16. But credit to these girls and credit to the staff. They got themselves settled down, they got themselves locked in, and they started whittling away. There isn't a 16-point shot in basketball. So you got to come down, you got to make shots, and then you got to get stops on the defensive end. And is troubling as we played in the first half, giving the ball away, we forced Oregon into those situations in the second half. I believe Oregon had 12 or 13 turnovers in the second half alone, and that certainly contributed. And then we were hitting buckets, and then to give ourselves a shot late in the game, you can't ask for anything more. It was a great test for this team early on. It was a great test for this coaching staff. Remember, this is a brand new coaching staff. And they had to find a way to keep these girls in it. They had to find the right combinations to get back into the game and to stay consistent, and then to find that magic play at the end of the game to find a wide open Emma Jolka, hit that three and go up 2 with a couple ticks left. Really important. So this should be a confidence booster. Certainly they beat a really good team, and now they kind of have a better idea of what they have.
And they'll travel to Watertown on Friday night. That's going to be a radio-only game, and that game will be on 95.3 WBEV because you have Badger volleyball commitment on 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam with the Badgers and the Sweet 16, and the Daily Dodge TV cameras are both on campus tomorrow for wrestling and for hockey, which we'll talk about, I guess. Ryan, the girls hockey team, a couple of big wins. They've won 2 in a row, beat the Badger Lightning, go to 2-0 in the Badger Conference, and then a huge non-conference win against one of the super teams, Fond du Lac. Great resiliency for Coach Pogorelic's squad, rallying from 2-0 down, and then rallying from a 1-goal deficit in the third period as well on Saturday.
Wade, you and I have talked about it a couple times. This team has a ton of talent. They had a very, very challenging non-conference schedule to start the year. And we've talked about, don't look at the record. The record isn't indicative of what this team is. Look at what's happening. This team had, I think, to your count, 11 pucks go off the post that they just couldn't find the back of the net. And Coach Pogorelic talked about it in his pregame with Mike ahead of Saturday's game. They spent all last week just really focusing on finishing, and certainly they did, putting up 4 against the Badger Lightning to get another conference win and go to 2-0 in the conference. But everybody knew that this game against Fond du Lac was certainly looming Saturday, and they played well. Fondy, as you described, is a super team, and I think that's accurate. They just continue to find more and more communities to co-op with and have their pick of players. And our girls played really well, and I think it's a statement win, because I question how much people outside of our community really buy into our team. Because we've struggled for a little bit, and last year we came up. This was really a statement game and a statement win for our program, for our girls, and for our coaching staff, that Beaver Dam is here and Beaver Dam can play with any of these programs. And hats off to the Warbirds. They have a very good team and they have a young team, but so do we. And so I look forward to this matchup and this rivalry developing over the years. But in the short term, I really hope that our team really rides this momentum and continues to go. They got a tough matchup with the Metro Lynx coming up, and these are the kind of games, these Warbird games, the games in Arrowhead, those are the games that toughen you up for that conference slate we've talked about so many times.
Right, at 2-0, you want to go to 3-0 in the conference with these early home games, which means you have to go on the road. So this is imperative one tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. You can watch that one on Daily Dodge TV. I want to talk about also tomorrow night, before we talk about some swimming, wrestling, boys and girls wrestling in action tomorrow night. The boys are at home against Watertown, a match that'll be on Daily Dodge TV. The girls on the road at Wanakee. Pretty successful first weekend for Coach Winker and Coach Lauterbach's squad last week.
Yeah, the boys opened up against Oregon and they won 40-31. A nice win for them. Had a bunch of guys out of the lineup. They're still going to be without some of their wrestlers, but they've got enough depth right now that they're able to fill some spots. But they're 1-0 in the conference, and that's what they want. Their goal is to win a conference title, but they're going to have to go through a tough Watertown team, and certainly that's a rivalry matchup. And I totally expect some hijinks and some lineup movements to take place, guys trying to shuffle people around in order to try to get matchups. But I really think it's going to come down to, can the guys on Beaver Dam's team who are supposed to win, can they not only win, but can they get those bonus points? One of the things that kept this dual meet close last year when we were in Watertown is some of our better wrestlers won matches great. But if you can't get to those bonus points, those major decisions, those tech falls, those pins, that really keeps teams in it. It's kind of very similar to basketball, where if you're just hitting layup after layup after layup, that's great. But if you can hit a couple threes, if you can get to the free throw line, that certainly widens your lead out a little bit. And in wrestling, getting those bonus points is huge. So the one thing we're going to be looking for tomorrow night is, can Beaver Dam really capitalize and get those bonus points? If you're winning by 7, can you get that extra takedown to go up by 8? If you're winning by 14, can you get to 15? If you put someone on their back and you're getting near fall, can you finish it off and get in a pin? If they can do that, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, so again, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on Daily Dodge TV. Ryan, you're going to be out there if your voice holds up, and Wally Lukashinsky, and who knows who else will stop into the broadcast booth, right?
Yeah, if my voice holds up, I've got this cough that I'm desperately trying to work on.
It's going around, but the girls too. They had an event last week, and they're going to be at Wanakee. Mm-hmm. And I talked a little bit to Coach Winker, but I'm going to get Coach Lauterbach on to do an extended preview on. But it's great to see the girls wrestling program in Beaver Dam, where I think they're filling 9 of the 11 weights at this point, and it's really growing the girls' sport, isn't it?
Yeah, we're actually, myself and Aaron May, who is actually in charge of wrestling for a conference, we're actually working on some proposals for a conference next year to really provide a great experience for our girls, but then also allow them to get as many matches and exposures as possible. The girls wrestling is really expanding, but certainly we're not at a point yet where each team can, fill out a lineup. So, we're looking at some creative solutions to fix that. But in the present day, Charlie Winicky really anchors that group. She was a state qualifier last year and competed at Madison. And over the weekend, she competed against a girl who beat her at state last year, and she pinned her. So certainly growth there. And our girls program, just to give you an idea, had 2 girls out last year. This year they have 11. So if you continue to see that growth, we're going to be doing well, and you're seeing that all over the place. Girls wrestling is the fastest growing sport across the country, and so it's a great opportunity for girls, and I look forward to seeing that team and that program continue to build.
So we're excited to watch them as the year goes along. Boys swimming, they continue to show great improvement, don't they, in the first year as with the program coming back in full force? Right.
Yeah, they've done really well. They competed last week at the Badger large relays and finished 7th ahead of Fort Atkinson. This week they competed at Milton in a traditional dual meet, and they scored points. They ended up losing the duel 92-54, but to score 54 points means that you're doing something right. And they had guys not only in relays, but individuals win some races. So that's really great. So seeing constant improvement, seeing development there, and I should mention, given some of the scheduling issues that we're working with, and because we don't own our own pool, these kids, largely freshmen, are going in and training at 6 o'clock in the morning every day at the Y. They're not getting an afternoon practice. They're working every morning. And so their commitment level is very high. I know as a coach, getting kids to come in for morning practices was sometimes like pulling teeth. That also means that a lot of these parents are having to make major commitments to swim. So I'm just really proud of everyone involved in that team and program. They continue to get better. And that was my message to the coaches, Mike and John Prime, is I just want to see development. We're not looking to win duels or win tournaments. We'd love to do that, of course, but we just don't have the numbers to do it. So let's just see improvement. Let's just see growth. Let's see a great experience for these kids, and they're certainly doing that.
Talking with Ryan Gerber, Director of Athletics and Activities on 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. A couple of things here, Ryan, outside of the sports realm. I know as we talk on Thursday tonight, if people are listening to this, the high school choir concert is tonight, 7:30 over at in the auditorium. People can check that out. And also Christmas, celebrate Christmas with an Angel. Noel's Angel Walk, a great nonprofit in the community. The Lincoln and Washington Elementary School chorus is going to be out there. Also the Beaver Dam Middle School Jazz Choir, Beaver Dam High School a cappella choirs. That event runs from like 10 until 1. So there's lots of opportunities to see our kids in the arts as well, right?
Yeah, 'tis the season. The December concert and both vocal and band always has a ton of stuff going on, and it's just a great thing for our community. It's obviously a great opportunity for our kids to perform in front of people, but we open these things up to the community, and it's just beautiful music, well done, well rehearsed, well organized and planned by our staff. So again, if you're at home, you don't have plans, coming out to the high school. And listen to what our kids are able to do. And I should mention, the elementary and the middle school programs, their music programs, they're strong as well. It just doesn't get done at the high school. It's a development from when they're young to high school. And I know some of the elementary choirs are going to be coming and singing the national anthem at a couple of our activity events coming up in January. So just a very strong program. And I encourage, if you haven't been out to see our band, if you haven't been out to see our choir, check it out. You can always watch it on Daily Dodge. I know they've put some up there, or at least the high school website or on YouTube has put things out there too. So if you can't make it out, check it out online, check out YouTube. They just do a tremendous job, and they deserve our attention as well.
Yeah, Beaver Dam Unified School District YouTube page will have most of the concerts in the auditorium up there. Go back and check out. Their band had one earlier this week. They had a choir a cappella last week. So lots of great stuff. If people are looking for more information, Ryan Gerber, how do they find it about what's going on at BDUSD?
Can always go to the high school webpage, check out activities and athletics. That's always one place. Or you can go to badgerconference.org, and on the right-hand side, you'll see Beaver Dam. Click that. Or you could always just give us a call, myself or Austin Keach here at the high school. We'd love to talk to you.
Again, Friday night, 3 events on the air. Beaver Dam girls hockey and boys wrestling on Daily Dodge TV. Girls basketball at Watertown's on 95.3 WBEV. Then on Saturday, boys hockey, which we will get and talk to Coach Kraft's squad a little bit more next week. They will take on Edgewood in the afternoon. I believe that's a 3 o'clock start. Boys basketball hosts Watertown at 2:30. Those are both on Daily Dodge TV as well, Ryan. So lots going on, lots of opportunities, and appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Go Beavers.